Welcome to your new favorite show, Decades, on the NGBN.TV network. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for watching and sharing on YouTube, LinkedIn, all the other social media avenues. And if you are a new viewer, Decades is a show where we have someone from their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. We are not the same people. We know that. We're from all over the country. We have different beliefs, and we're going to bring up topics that you normally would not talk about. But we're going to bring it up, maybe have a little fight, maybe have a little heated discussion. But in the end, we're going to cheers and we're going to agree to disagree. My name is Chris Rubio. I'll be your host. Let's bring out our co-host slash producer slash director slash, I don't know what he really does, but he does everything. Give it up for Ed McAndrew, not McAndrews.
Hello, Rubio. Looking forward to a fun show. And when you figure out what I actually do, please let me know. Before we get started, I have a joke for you. What did the chicken?
Say it again. You broke up.
What did the evil chicken lay?
A deviled egg.
Whoa! All right. Without further ado, let's bring these guys on.
All right. First up, let's bring out their oldest person. His name is Jay Gaskill. We call him the Judge. He's an Idaho native. He's a recently retired district judge, right, Judge? Right. I got it this time. Supposedly that means he's big time. He's an outdoorsman and a wine connoisseur and can supposedly make one hell of an old-fashioned. Judge, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rubio.
Next up, we've got Bill Geiser. Bill resides in Tampa, Florida. He's a serial entrepreneur, an innovator of wearable tech, and he has two outstanding sons. What's up, Geiser?
Hey, and I'm not the oldest guy on the show.
Yeah, you'll never be that with the Judge. Third up, we've got another Idaho resident. His name is James Gingrich. He's a cybersecurity consultant, enjoys the outdoors, and loves his guns. What's up, Jim?
Good to see you guys.
Next up, we've got Los Angeles born and raised. He went to the greatest school ever, UCLA. Give it up for Jimmy McElroy. He's a UCLA grad and also is still an educator in the LA area. Jimmy Mac, you're on mute, but we saw the high five.
How's everybody doing?
There you go, Jimmy Mac. And last but not least, the guy that's got the greatest father ever. He's representing our 20s. This is Cruz Rubio. He's into hiking, wearing sandals, and getting booted from classes. Give it up for Cruz Rubio.
Howdy.
All right, so here's what happens. If you guys know, we have this kind of love-hate relationship on the show where we agree, we don't agree. Some of us, you can see which way they lean. Some of it's very obvious. Some of it's kind of a little bit hidden. My job as the host is kind of just poke the bear and kind of have things move along. So we also have a text thread going. And I think it was on Monday or Tuesday. I'm not exactly sure. We had, or last week actually, we sent out a text and someone threw out a meme. And what the meme, I said, all right, this is what we're going to do. The next show, it's going to be called Memepalooza. If you don't know what a meme is, it's just basically a picture with some words on it. And it's kind of tongue in cheek, making fun of something that you don't like. Okay. So the first one we're going to do is everyone submitted two memes. Obviously what they agree with, what they think goes with their beliefs, and what could kind of, I would think, almost piss off other people. So the first meme out of the gate, Ed, just surprise us. Do a round robin, dealer's choice. We'll figure out who it is. I'm going to say that was Bill Geiser.
Ditto.
Bill, was it you?
Guilty as charged.
Okay, so let's pull that one up again, Ed, while we're all looking at it. And it's obviously, I'd like to solve the hell you will. Epstein did not kill himself. My camera's kind of blocking it. Bill, what is the point of this meme? And does anyone want to argue this one, or is this one of the most blatant, obvious things in the past decade?
Well, what attracts me to a meme are two things. Number one, it's got to be funny. I mean, I don't like the memes that are, kind of mean-spirited. They've got to have a humorous element. And that one I laughed right away as soon as I saw it. The other thing it has is, I think, is a characteristic, is it touches on a current social, political, or cultural nerve. It hits a nerve. And obviously the nerve this one hits are all these things that have to do with the government supposedly eavesdropping on us, the release of the Twitter files, have, that whole genre of things going on where the government is doing things that we may not know of. And obviously with Epstein being foremost, forefront in the news for what now? A couple of years at least. I couldn't pass it.
And I think the thing with Epstein, it's one of those that is so obvious. Like there's the flight logs that no one can seem to find, but anything else gets leaked. You got where all of a sudden his guards fall asleep. You got it to where all of a sudden he hangs himself, but he's got like massive broken neck thing where there's no way he could have created that much of a fall. Judge, you're obviously a judge. How has there not been some sort of not figured out judicially? I'll even use that word.
Well, it doesn't get to the judicial part until the law enforcement's done. So if they can't figure it out, I mean, they've got to have probable cause of who did it. And if they can't show who did it, then they can't do anything.
But can't someone just say, hey, man, there's a lot of coincidences here where the flight logs are gone, the cameras got turned off, his guards fell asleep. No one can do that?
Well, again, I'm sure someone could do it, but they've got to show who did it. And if they can't show who did it, then they just can't say you're all indicted or you're all charged with this unless they can point to certain individuals.
And no one wants to say who did it because they don't want to get Epstein.
Or they've been Epstein. Exactly. And that was the point of that meme, is that
discretion is
in on this deal.
Jimmy Mack, you seem to laugh pretty hard at that meme. Did you like that?
I mean, it was probably the prison bully Bubba. He told Epstein to give me the pudding. Epstein wouldn't hand over the pudding. Next thing you know, Epstein is he's taken out. So I think they don't want the Bubba, the prison enforcer, to lose his place on top of the food chain in the prison. So they can't snitch him out.
You kind of broke up, Jimmy Mack. Did you say Bubba or Hillary?
Yeah, that's Hillary's nickname, Bubba. That's what they when she gets behind bars. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's funny because it's just like we all know what went down, but we have never confirmed what went down in that prison cell. So it was one of those things. Like I think the majority of the people saw his crime and was like, so what? And a lot of people are like, hey, we gotta get down to this because I don't want to be done that way if I ever have to get in that Epstein situation. So I think we know what happened. We'll never figure it out. Well,
I think I put my conspiracy hat on. Jim, do you want to say anything about your conspiracy hat on that flight log?
Well, look, number one, you already alluded to it, friends with the Clintons, and they're allegedly on that log. So there's a lot of people with a lot of money that could lose a lot of, respect, revenue, a lot of things. It seems well past a conspiracy at this point because they actually have published some of the people that have been there. So there's a lot of power behind that would want him to go away without talking.
Including Pat Sajak.
Yeah. By the way, Pat Sajak is phenomenal on Twitter. Cruz, does even your generation know about Epstein?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not a focal point of conversation, but everyone's kind of aware of what's going on, and like it's kind of hush-hush in a sense where like people don't really talk about it, but you're kind of aware, and then at times you can somewhat crack jokes about it, but no, I mean, my generation's not really looking too deep into it. They're more so complaining about everything else that's going on right now.
I got you. All right, Ed, you were a little nice on that one. I thought you would be. Pull me up another meme that's a little spicy. Okay. Jimmy Mack, who said that one? Because you're shaking your head.
Oh my God, that has to be James Gingrich. I'm gonna go James Gingrich.
I'm gonna go James. Judge?
James.
James, was it you?
Wow. Yeah, wow. Too easy.
All right, Jim, would you like to explain your meme for us?
Yeah, so I've been a little confused with this transphobia thing, and I want to start by saying I'm not a transphobe. I think we got to the point where having an opinion is called discrimination. But one of the things that concerns me is the medical ramifications of this long term. We went in a short amount of time from You know, there were some people that would transition to, now we're pushing drugs at arrest development for kids and driving this medical issue that's going to come back to haunt you. And I'll give you a quick story that really hit home. There was one case study of a 5-year-old boy who was, normal boy. At about 5, he started playing with dolls, and if you give him a truck or a doll, he'd take a doll, and just more leaning towards a female thing. So the parents, being good parents, didn't just send him off to a doctor that said, hey, let's start transitioning. He identifies as a boy or a girl. And I went to a counselor, and it only took about 3 sessions before they figured out that the family recently had a daughter and she was special needs. And so this kid was getting more attention, and the parents were doing more with her. So in this mind of this undeveloped child, he thought that that was because she was a female. So, again, I don't have a problem with someone wanting to change their sex, but I do believe gender is assigned and imprinted at conception in our DNA. It is binary. You either have a Y chromosome or you don't. And the rest of it, do what you will, but calling it non-binary or thinking you have a choice, and then particularly kids. I mean, kids are consistently persistent and insistent on doing all kinds of stupid shit they don't know. There's a reason they don't vote. There's a reason they don't live on their own. There's a reason they don't make most of their own decisions. And that's because we know scientifically they're not medically capable. So that part bothers me, the kids getting pushed into these drugs and transitions.
Okay, we're going to come right back to this, and I'm going to tell a quick story. Ed, take us to commercial real quick.
Hello, my name's Ian Hill. And when I'm not training to be the oldest man to play NCAA Division I college football, I'm the CEO of NGBN TV. Our mission's pretty simple. Educate, equip, entertain, support, and inspire men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. It's a one-stop shop for all that a man in his middle ages needs to be his best. So once you come and join us, come and be a part of NGBN TV. Now back to our show.
Welcome back to your new favorite show, Decades, on the NGBN.TV. I'm welcoming back Jimmy Mack, the judge, Bill Geiser, James Gingrich, Cruz Rubio, and of course, Ed. We don't know what he's doing, but he's doing it very, very well. Going back to what Jim was just talking about, the age thing, I remember my youngest son, Damon Dale, he graduated kindergarten when I had to go to a graduation for that, which I thought was stupid. That's a whole side story. But they brought all the kids up and they asked him, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he was 5, 6, 7, whatever kids are at that age. And I remember very specifically, he said a dinosaur. Now, that's what a normal 5 or 6 or 7-year-old would say. But my point is, how can you tell a kid, okay, you can be a dinosaur, but then you have this whole transitioning thing? Judge, what is your thought on that?
Well, I think it's way more individual than you guys are trying to make it. I think you have to take it individually. I think there are people that are non-binary that grow up feeling completely like an outcast. And I can't imagine that the pain that they might go through thinking that they're one gender when they're not. So I don't believe in it for young children, obviously, but I do think that like the meme was some grown-up person. I got no problem with that.
But what is your reasoning, Judge, that in the past, let's say 5 years, it's gone from 1 in a million to now there's like 1 out of every 100 people? That's what I think the issue is a lot.
Well, I guess it's just kind of like in the past 20 years or whatever, being able to go out in public and say you're homosexual or something else has changed rapidly too. I mean, they used to kill those people. So I think society is more accepting of that.
Jimmy Mack, do you agree with that, or do you think it's a fad?
I agree with it. I wouldn't say it's a fad. I think people, as they say, I'm living my truth. Some people feel a certain way or they want to do certain things that are out there. My biggest thing is about clarity. When you're dealing with other people in the public, they have to understand that everybody doesn't have to accept your truth. So you got to be careful with that. Sometimes living your best life for them, that can put you in danger. Like, so for instance, so there's an example of dating. If I'm a male and I meet a female that used to be a male and you didn't let me know that in the beginning, you're not giving me my choice to live inside of your best life. So that can become a problem. We've had instances in the past where there have been males who have tried to hurt or kill that other person because of that. So I think that if you're going to do that, you want to live your best life, you got to let everybody else live their best life too. You got to have clarity in these situations, because you might develop a relationship with somebody. They go home and meet your family and see your baby pictures and you used to be a little boy. That could cause a whole lot of trouble and a whole lot of problems for both people on both ends. So, you know, it's just the clarity of it. You know, I mean, I deal with high school kids. There's a lot of pronouns that are out there now, a lot of things that's going on. So you got to be careful with that as people. One, for how we can mislabel somebody and get in trouble for that. You know, we get into relationships with people and they're not very honest with us, and then that can put us in a bind. So just have clarity with it. We should be in a society where we accept everybody, but you also have to understand people don't have to. So that's a dangerous thing to play with when you come to these type of things.
Jimmy Mack, you just took me on a circular mission right there, because you said we don't have to listen to what they're saying and believe what they're saying, but then you also said we have to listen to what their pronouns are and go with what the pronouns are. So which one is it? Because
what I'm trying to say is that, what I mean by clarity, let us know how are you functioning in your life, because a lot of us don't understand it, we don't get it. And if you're telling me something like, an example at school, a young man called a girl, hey, honey, you know, don't call me that. I'm whatever she said, it was something with an S, and it wasn't stud. And he could have gotten a whole lot of trouble behind that, but they came to me and I had to explain to the young lady, hey, he doesn't know what he sees a female, whether you dress like a boy or not, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, he doesn't know. So you could have got this young man in all types of trouble because he doesn't know. So be clear. Clarify these type of things with people before we jump off the deep end because somebody's being disrespectful or somebody's doing or you think that somebody's not respecting you. That's what I'm saying. Let's clarify what it is we want to be labeled as, so people won't get mixed emotions or mixed feelings, and then we have a whole situation.
Bill Geiser, you're chomping at the bit here.
Well, I think I'm pretty much in the same camp with the judge. I accept it. I mean, if somebody, you know, really wants to go in that direction, feels that, you know, for whatever reason, you know, whether it was an act of God or Mother Nature or whatever, that they were born with the wrong sex and they want to change it, okay, it's okay with me. But there are two sort of guardrails I think we have to be aware of. One is the one Jim was talking about, which is age. Mm-hmm. This is a big decision, and it's an irreversible decision. And to have a young child who may not have figured it out go down that path too early, that has serious consequences. So I don't know what that age should be, but it feels to me like it's at least 18.
Yeah, I mean, you got it. Jim, you had your hand up, then I'm going to come to Cruz.
Well, there's one other thing I want to do, and that is in the area of women's sports.
Oh,
I definitely disagree that we should allow biological males to take over women's sports. I swam competitively at a high level. There was no way that, and I was a good, not a great male swimmer, but I could have beaten any female in the world just because of size and strength and so on. It's not fair to the women that work as hard as they do. There should be a separate category, or let them compete with men. But in the women's,
I think even the judge agrees with you on that one.
That's no.
Jim, and then I'm coming to Cruz.
Yep. Well, I think Jimmy Mack said it. The point of that meme is to not be so sensitive. I mean, you have to be, if you're comfortable with that and you're comfortable with your identity, then you have to let people know it. Identity is not biology. That comes from your mind. If I had body integrity dysmorphia and said I identified as someone without a leg, they're not going to run me in and cut my leg off right away. You're going to talk about that. You're going to have a discussion. So again, I don't have any issues with trans. You should live your life as you choose, but the sensitivity level is tough because we don't know. It's transitioned so quickly. It's such a ballooning thing that you can't get mad at people for not understanding or knowing, what you want to be called.
Or not caring.
Yeah. Yeah, just
Cruz?
don't care. Call me Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole situation is pretty strange to me. I mean, I personally don't have an issue with people wanting to be who they are, transition by any means. But the problem I have is the consistent shoving it down your throat, making it a personality trait. All of that, forcing it amongst people that maybe who have religious beliefs that would say otherwise about, no, you're not a man, no, you're not a woman. Personally, I've had encounters with members of the transgender community that have been awesome, and then some that have been horrible. So it's kind of up in the air. But tagging along what Bill said, yeah, I mean, I played Division I football. I could never imagine a woman being able to be in a position of dominance within my sport. I think I could go and play a woman's sport, any woman's sport, and be somewhat competitive because of my athletic ability and me being stronger, faster, taller than them. So I think that within sports, it's deteriorating women's sports in the sense that you're allowing these men to come in and just dominate. I mean, you have Leah Thomas as an example, and now the girl that he swam against, or she swam against, sorry, is now coming out and speaking out against it, and now the trans community is attacking her for it. So it's all just very interesting.
And that's one of those things where I know we talked about a pre-show that we're going to have a show on it where are the feminists? That's what I want to know, Judge. Where are the feminists for this?
Well, I don't know about that, but I think some of these trans people could be successful college long snappers.
and I was actually going to say, Jimmy Mack, you remember some of the shot put and discus girls we had at UCLA?
Yes.
They could have played a couple, maybe guard or something.
I mean, there were some tough girls. I remember our discus thrower, Susie Powell. She broke like a national record. She threw the discus like 200 and something yards. Like, she could have been a hell of a quarterback if she could take a hit. So, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so now back to what I was saying, Judge, before you so rudely commented on long snappers.
Yeah, anyone can be a judge. Jesus.
Those are top flight athletes, those long snappers. Not everybody can do that.
Come on, man.
Judge, where are the feminists?
I don't think that they really care that much about it.
But how could they not?
They got bigger fish to fry still.
Which is what?
Gender inequality, pay, the Me Too.
There are some, Rubio, Martina Navratilova is very outspoken in support of protecting women's sports. There was a great Olympian, world record holder swimmer, who's now a civil rights attorney, I believe. Nancy Hoghead was her maiden name. Her last name now is Maker. Very prominent and very, very prominent, high profile in defense of women's sport. And I 100% support them. I think they're doing the right thing. Women, I mean, it's crazy. Women fought for how many years to get sort of equality in terms of scholarships and things like that. And now they're going to give it to men. It's crazy. It makes no sense to me.
Ed, hit us up with another spicy one, my man. Whatever you're doing back there. I think that's Cruz. Jimmy Mack?
I'm going to go Cruz myself. I'm going to go with Cruz.
Judge?
Yeah, Cruz.
Bill?
Cruz.
So far it's unanimous.
Oh, Cruz, is it you?
Yeah.
All right. Would you like to explain your meme to us, please?
Yeah, I have no
God's
problem.
interested.
Yeah. Men wearing makeup by any means. I have no issue with it. I mean, there's people within my family that are men that wear makeup. I really don't have an issue with it. It doesn't really mind me. But to go out and say that it's traditionally more masculine, I think is just incorrect in all sides of it. I think that, a masculine man, you kind of visualize like a firefighter or a lumberjack. You don't really visualize someone with makeup. And maybe within, the way things are going in this country, maybe within the next couple of years, that might be the new definition of masculine. But personally, I don't see it that way as of right now.
And Cruz, me wearing makeup was supposed to be our little secret. You said a member of our family.
Yeah.
Jimmy Mack, is that meme okay? Is it too rude?
No, I don't know if you remember. Twice I dressed up as a female for Halloween when we were at UCLA, and I had makeup, wigs, but I always masculined up with some football cleats. I always wore football cleats when I dressed up as a woman, so I'll have on a skirt with some football cleats, so they would know. Because remember, I was a small person, so I could have looked like a buff female. So, I mean, it doesn't bother me none. One of my favorite artists of all time, Boy George, wore makeup. George Michael, every once in a while wore makeup. And I mean, they were absolutely amazing artists to me. So it didn't bother me none. And I don't think it's going to demasculize humanity if men wore a little mascara every once in a while.
On that note, Jimmy Mack, I remember those Halloween parties and you were a very ugly woman. Cruz, you would be an ugly woman. I honestly think that the judge and Bill would probably be the best looking women of this group. Because Jim, you'd be terrible and I would be terrible. Okay, we're all going to agree that the judge and Bill would be the best looking women. And let's take us to commercial, Ed. Welcome back to your new favorite show, Decades, on the NGBN.TV. And I cannot look at Bill and the judge the same anymore now that I picture them in not necessarily drag, just finding their true self. That meme was a little too easy. Ed, pick another one. Okay, this is obviously the judge. Or is it Jimmy Mack?
Maybe Jimmy Mack. He's commenting on it.
I'm going Jimmy Mack.
Judge.
Bill?
Jimmy Mack.
Judge?
I'll go Judge.
I'm going to have to go Jimmy Mack.
Okay. So Jimmy Mack, was it you?
Oh, yes, it was me.
Okay, explain it to me.
First of all, I just love this kid. That look on his face is amazing. He has like 1,000 memes, and I couldn't choose which one to do it, but I thought I'd put healthcare in there. Because I mean, when you look at our third world countries where they need health, they need healthcare, they need medical care and stuff like that. We here in America, that's a big debate whether we should have universal healthcare and have free healthcare for people for goods and services when we paying our taxes and things like that. There are people who are adamant about not allowing people to have that. And we also know when we had the Affordable Care Act, we had a lot of our politicians in certain states who were fooling the people to get them to vote against the Affordable Health Care Act by renaming it or doing something to trick the people. So once again, I mean, I just love that little kid. He has 1,000 memes with him doing that. It's stuff with football and all that stuff. But I love the healthcare thing because I think healthcare is important. If it wasn't for a free screening for my dad for cancer, I wouldn't have my dad anymore. So it was a free screening that he was able to get. We were able to catch it fast, and he's still living a good, healthy life at 71. So that was almost 15 years ago. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Okay. Jim Gingrich, are you for it?
Yes, with exceptions. I mean, we all pay a pretty significant tax burden, and I'd certainly like to see it go for something better. I'm opposed to it in our current environment because it's all about money. The big pharma and the government. So, it's going to get abused. And part of that goes back to my first meme. I mean, how does that change free healthcare? I mean, that's non-elective things you're talking about. So I think our system's too broke for me to want to sign on right now. But in the perfect world, I agree completely. We should be able to tax that and take our taxes and do something good like that.
Because I think we had one in Idaho, which is kind of shocking, where dude walks in, gets arrested, big crime down in Southern Idaho. Judge, you'll have to help me out here. And his sex change gets paid for by tax dollars, right?
Correct.
And Judge, you're okay with that?
Well, that's not universal health care. That's a question of prisoner rights.
Okay.
Whether it's cruel and unusual to not let them do that.
So they can go rape women in the women's prison they go to. That's what a lot of them are doing.
Yeah, I think that was their next step.
The diabolical plan.
Bill Geiser, what's your thought on the healthcare?
I agree with it, number one. And number two, I think we should be auditing every single penny we invest in there to find out where the money is going. We spend more on healthcare, I believe, than virtually any other nation, and our healthcare quality is shit. So somebody is fleecing us. We should get to the bottom of it. But in the meantime, let's take care of the people first.
Let's talk to the young buck. Cruz, you don't need healthcare right now. You're young and stupid.
I don't really know. I think free healthcare is a great idea, but I mean, it's just about sending money, allocating money to the right places and making it affordable and easy and convenient. The problem is like we have such a division with the upper elites and like the lower classes, where I don't think many of the upper elites would want to be in the same waiting rooms as, you know, these people that make less money, you know, and it's less about what, you know, Jimmy Mack and James Gingrich and Bill and Judge and I want. It's more so about what the government wants. And, you know, you don't think that $40 billion that they sent to other countries could be used to provide universal health care for Americans? I mean, it's not up to us, really. It's more about whatever the government wants they're going to do.
Yeah, and then you get the government and Big Pharma working together like they had the last 3 years. I mean, I could wrap for part 1 of Memepalooza on your favorite show, Decades, on the NGBN.TV network. Do not worry, though. We've got part 2 coming up next Wednesday, so be on the lookout and make sure you're following Decades on YouTube.